So when he started like, yeah, I was like, hey, get back, there's 5 minutes left, without realising it was over. So I was like, what is this Egypt doing?
Hello and welcome back to Young Rugby and this a chat with two men who have been on a roller coaster of a ride on the international stage over these past few years. A warm welcome to USA stars Will Hooley and AJ Macginty. Hello lads, how are you? You well?
Very well, thank you, mate. Indeed. It's good to be on speaking to you again. So, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, it's good to be on. Well, nice meeting you too.
I want to chat to you both a bit today about these past few years for USA Rugby. We're going to head back now, as you said, to a date which seems to have started the American hype train back in 2018. Scotland versus USA in Houston. Both of you played in that game, and I'll start with you, AJ, if you don't mind. Talk me through that game and the days leading up to it. What was it like in the camp at that time?
Yeah, so obviously then Houston, a big preparation for that game was managing the conditions because the heat and the humidity. So the ball was like a bar of soap in training. So a big focus for everybody was managing those conditions. USA Rugby was in cutback, so we were kind of out in the slums away from the city. The Scottish team were living at large in the city. So I think that might have softened them up for the actual game. But we had played Russia just a week before, which was in Denver. So that kind of just gave us good prep leading into the game, because obviously the conditions were very difficult in Denver. But I think as Will said, that Gary Gold had come in and we had a successful ARC. I think we had a successful ARC.
2018.
Yeah, we had won the ARC, so, and we'd done that the previous year too. So everyone's riding pretty high. There was a lot of confidence. Team was fit. We were all happy. Like we haven't been together since Japan, which is disappointing. But we're all raring to go and get back together. But there's always a really positive mood in camp, which I think the managers and the coaches do an unbelievable job of bringing everyone together, because you don't see each other too much. So. Obviously, with the Scotland team not being full strength, but still having a lot of quality in their side, we were very confident for that game. And a big part of getting the performances is the belief in yourself and belief in the team. And we definitely had a lot of belief going into that game. And we were able to get the win, which was massive for us.
Sounds like that confidence was pretty high, but it must have been tested slightly in that first half versus Scotland. I mean, Blair Kinghorn scored in the corner pretty much straight away, and then converted. We had Samu Manoa went off a yellow card, and it was 13 points to 24 in Scotland's favour at half-time. What was spoken about at half-time? Was there any indication that this may be another 60-point thumping to a top-tier side, or was there still that belief that you could go all the way and then beat Scotland in your backyard?
I think, to be honest, the good thing for us is that we scored. If I remember right, we scored just before the half. I think, or we went in, whether it was a penalty or I think it was a try. And I think that sort of lifted us a bit. You talked about that first opening sort of few phases. I remember just thinking I was annoyed at us because that was so. What AJ talked about, actually the Russia game the week before, and we had a week's preparation even before that in Denver. We worked really hard and actually performed really well against Russia, and put a lot of points to them. And defensively, we were very good. So to concede that early, I think everyone was just pretty pissed off about it all. But at the same time, getting that kind of that try just before the half, I think that was the thing that kind of gave us the energy going in the half time, being like, hold on a minute, we know we can defend these boys, and then actually they're a little bit vulnerable in, a few areas. So I think I generally feel that at half time we were still pretty upbeat. It certainly wasn't one of those games you're like, right, let's just get ourselves back in it now. It's like, no, we were actually firmly in it, and the scoreline was kind of irrelevant. And then obviously the rest of the game took care of itself.
Sometimes when a team scores that early, they think it's going to be a blowout. And for them as well, they probably struggled in conditions more than us. But the previous week they had played Canada and put 60 points on them. And like if you were to like look at the records between ourselves and Canada, it's always pretty tight games. So I think in the back of their heads, they're just thinking, oh, this is going to be like the Canada game. We're going to run away with it and put 50 points on them. So yeah, in that first half, things going against us, but it kind of worked in our favor because maybe not that they took the foot off the gas, not that at all, but just sort of slightly switched off mentally. And allowed us to sort of creep back into the game and start putting points on the board.
I want to talk about those final moments in that game, and the game was pretty much out of your hand. Blair Kinghorn got a kick in the corner to win the game for Scotland, and he missed. What was the mood like under those sticks, knowing that the game was completely out of your hands and you couldn't really do anything about it? What was being spoken about at that point? It's such an agonising finish either way.
Well, to be honest, like I actually was really chasing that kick, as in to try and charge it down. There was actually a couple of individuals, one on the screen, who took a quiet knee, I think, by the post. Is that right? You didn't chase that kick down, didn't you?
I think I was the only one under the sticks at that point. Everyone else in the team had chased the kick, so no, I was just standing watching the kick. Obviously, not a nice way to lose a game, but you know. You'll take it all the time if someone's missing a kick for you to win.
I just think it was, again, we've all played in games where we've probably ended up winning and looking around to ourselves thinking like, geez, we got away with that. You know, probably not the better team. I genuinely believe that night we were the better side and we did deserve it. Their late try, that, you know, yes, from some pressure that they did build, but I kind of feel you read the kind of match reaction. I think anyone who was there that night and was watched the game, and even boys that I know who played in that match, you know, will fully admit that we were the better side. And so it was, okay, yeah, horrible for Blair Kinghorn to miss the kick, but obviously delightful for us and cue celebrations. But I think, obviously, I'm sure you'll ask more stuff, Will, but the thing for us now is to make sure that's not just a one-off. You know, that beating Scotland is obviously, it's great to talk about now, but I think for me and AJ, both of us are, you know, that's 2018 now. We've got to really step up and go and get another big scalp. So that's the challenge for us.
Now, I want to move on to a game in 2019, which also made a few headlines, the Samoa game. Now, I know, Will, we've spoken about this both on streams and off it, but I want you to kind of talk me through that game, and because it was a bit of a mental one. Yeah,
and actually mental, I think, as well with like the US. I'm sure AJ would admit, like for us and Pacific Islander teams, I just think we mentally, maybe there's that kind of belief that we're just going to get physically a bit outdone here. And the boys have come close, very close, against Tonga, Samoa in the previous years, but never quite got a result. And I remember, look, they got a big bunch of lads, and we actually had Brendan Venter in the week. This is a game was actually played in Spain, and he came into the week to do some defensive work. And I kind of think the whole belief in camp when he came in, sort of talked about various stuff. Everyone was like, actually, hold on a minute. Like, these guys, there's some big names, some big ball carriers, but do this, this, and this. We can cancel this out, and actually, maybe as a rugby team, we can be a better side. It came down to a last kick. I mean, the great thing is no one remembers. Well, actually, I think everyone remembers, but I actually slipped fully on my backside. And yeah, I mean, the thought that could have been the reason that we ended up losing the game would have just been, yeah, just one of them, mate. You don't want that. So it was good to have another shot at it. And again, for all us kickers, I think we'd rather have a harder kick than an easier kick to try and win it. But ultimately, again, I do believe that day we were the better side. So I think it was good to get the win.
You both are goal kickers, and we mentioned there, Will, that was a pretty astonishing kick. What does go through your head when you're attempting a kick of that magnitude to win a game or to seize victory? What does go through your head when you're aiming for those posts?
I'll pass that one on to AJ. Otherwise, I'm just loving talking about myself here. So go on, AJ, you can have that.
No, but the funny thing about that kick that Hooley nailed in the Samoa game was I was actually back in Manchester and I was watching that on like a stream, and it was delayed. No, I thought there was like 5 minutes left in the match. So when he started like, yeah, I was like, hey, get back. There's 5 minutes left without realising it was over. So I was like, what is this Egypt doing? But yeah, I think, like all kickers obviously put a lot of time and a lot of effort and sort of into your kick and sort of like improving your craft. Like you sort of live and die by the kick and as a 10. So you got to be putting the work in. And I think there's occasions where you might have a winning kick and you miss it, but you learn a lot from those situations too. You obviously got to go back to the drawing board and see what put you off or why you missed that kick. But it's certainly nice when you put all the effort in and those kicks go over. But I think a lot of like the professional game, and especially for kickers, is sort of the mental side of that, because it's such a team game. But then you celebrate a try and then you got to completely calm yourself down and get in sort of your routine and sort of your mental focus, and not having sort of stuff creep into your mind. So I don't know, for me, it's just about sort of have my routine, staying calm and just going through it step by step without, like, score doesn't matter. It's all a straight kick. All this sort of stuff you get from your sort of your kicking coach. But you kind of just want to blank everything out. Like, how to kick. You've done it all your life. It's just about going there and executing on the given occasion. So a lot of the work probably is obviously you're doing your reps and you're doing your after hours kicking from training, but then also the mental practice is a huge side of it too. So that's just sort of my side of it.
I want to talk about the World Cup. Going into a World Cup like that, it was such a tough group, but belief must have been really high after some really impressive performances in the past few international windows. What was the mood like in the camp in Japan, and kind of talk me through the World Cup experience for USA?
I think the whole experience was not just, the September through to October of being in Japan. It was, it's actually, I wanted to talk to AJ about this, like the memories I've got popping up of like our golf days in Denver, back in July and June. We were training hard as well, by the way. I must put that, we weren't just playing golf. But look, it was a whole sort of process all the way back, as I say, right, I think in the beginning of June, all the way until obviously we're on that flight to Japan. And I loved it. I mean, when I look back and I just think, and actually the whole lockdown period has been a bit of time for self-reflection, which is quite good, and you don't always get that. And, the frustration, as I've said before, right at the beginning, the results didn't go our way. I don't like saying it like that, because ultimately we got beat, and the frustration for us is, I believe, how we pitched up at the World Cup and how we performed was not how we had performed before that. And you could say things that we didn't get our tactics right, or we just didn't work hard enough, whatever it might have been. I can't fault the effort of the lads in general. I think we did work really hard over the period of time building before Japan and then at Japan itself. We came across some really tough teams as well. And obviously England, the first game was a bit of a learning curve, I think, for us as a side, in tough conditions in Kobe. And then a France game, which, things have maybe just gone the other way after, I think it was around the 65-minute mark. We might have really been involved in that game. And then I won't go through game by game, but then you had Tonga right at the end, who we would have really liked to have put ourselves up to win. There was a 4-day turnaround. I remember we were leading, I think, 55 minutes on the clock. And then they score this kind of length of the pitch, kind of, I don't know whether it was an interception or whatever, try. And I could just feel everyone's just soul come out of them. But all this hard work we had put through, and the boys were just shattered in the end. And maybe that's a little self-reflection for us. Like, were we in the top peak condition that we could have been? You have to ask that question. And then equally, as say, how we performed as individuals and the side was maybe not how we had performed before that. We had a good time in Fiji when we played Samoa, Japan, and then again, actually before that in America, we played Canada. So look, mate, it's frustrating actually looking back at it, because I just think we could have been so much better, and the thought of it being like four more years until the next one, when I think AJ would be about 36, 38, is that right? And so yeah, I don't know, it's a great experience, disappointing results, but hopefully that'll benefit us going forward.
It's crazy because like it is from both of us, because we're both competitors. We always want to win, and you get to the big stage and you fall short. But then like on a self-reflection, and like you played, you know what I mean? You played in a World Cup. You know what I mean? How many people get to do that when you were a young kid and you wanted to be a rugby player and you wanted to play in the big stage? You know, you've done it, and it's like it should be so fulfilling. And you should feel so great about that. But then you lose, and you're like, you know, you can be very critical and very hard on yourself. And I think a big thing is like we were a very close group, the whole way through. Like the from the first camp to from the previous World Cup right through was a really tight knit bunch, and we did work our socks off. So I think that bit that like sort of lead into the World Cup, the fitness levels from like doing testing and weights and all that stuff, really good. PBs, like high fives, you're doing great. But when it came to like meeting the top tier teams at their very best, at full fitness, you know, we just couldn't match that level of intensity. So in terms of moving forward, it's like it's on us to like, one, we got to perform well so we can get those fixtures and we can play against the best teams in the world. And yeah, we might get 60 points on us, but the more times we play these teams and match their physicality and match their intensity, we become better players regardless of the results. So obviously sports, it's like you always look at the outcome, you always look at the result, and that is disappointing and hard to take. But as America, like it's a huge nation. There's incredible athletes, and I think with the MLR coming in, rugby is going to get bigger and better. This year already, from watching the games on like Facebook Live, the quality was a lot better. So gradually, you know, I think things are moving in the right place. We just can't get disheartened. Like the underdog story is an unbelievable story. You know what I mean? Japan did it in the last World Cup and in England. You know, it can happen. You can catch teams off guard, or if you're well prepped and you're fit enough and strong enough, you can compete. So that's what we're striving for, and that's sort of like, I think as players, like our purpose for playing for America is like, hey, we want to grow the game and we want to see American rugby do great things, and regardless of results, that's our drive and that's what keeps us going. So
finally, Will, we've said here that you've spent 2 incredible years as a USA international now. I'd like you to reminisce now a bit about what have been your most interesting or favourite moments that you've taken out of being with, as we've said here, such a tight-knit squad.
Well, on the field or off the field?
On the field,
off the field. Too much.
Obviously, I know there might be some limitations. We might have younger people watching. But yeah, tell me about what this squad is like, and that sort of atmosphere.
Yeah, I'll save that for post 9 p.m. on a weekday. Look, AJ said it. Honestly, there's a real buzz like going into camp every time. Like the feeling of just getting back with the lads. It's a great group of boys, and I think the other thing which is so great about American rugby is there's not necessarily. I mean, you have got people like AJ and Joe Taufete'e are doing really well in the European circuit, but mostly everyone's kind of in their rugby career in a modest way is pretty level playing field, and therefore everyone just works really hard. You know, everyone does work really hard. We touched on the fact that maybe we need to try even work harder to try and compete with the top sides, and that will come. But I do, you know, when I look back at my times, I mean, that tour you talked about with Scotland, that 2018 tour, I thought I almost wish we were playing like we were doing and performing like we were doing back then at the World Cup. Because I just look back then, we played Russia, we played Scotland, we played Canada in Canada. And we just had a great time. Yes, off the field, great time, but on the field, we were so confident. And I just hope, you know, for us as a group, we can maintain that confidence going forward, along with the whole fact of, you know, we get on so well. There's some fantastic youth and talent coming through in the USA Rugby circuit. MLR, as AJ's touched upon, is only but growing. therefore we should all be like in a positive mindset. I mean, look, there's other stuff with USA Rugby which we won't delve into, and hopefully that will sort itself out in due course, I'm sure. But kind of my in answering a question, like, the whole experience has been incredible. I mean, the idea that I've also played all over the world. I mean, we're in Fiji, we're then in Vancouver, played in Romania, played in Spain, played in Ireland. You know, not even England internationals can't say that they've gone to all those places and played rugby. So we're very fortunate, very tight-knit group, and I'm really hoping, you know, moving forward we can create more memories and get more results, which I do believe will happen if we work hard.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you both. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's been great to hear about these past few years in USA Rugby, and hopefully more to come.